Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 worst Mortal Kombat characters. For this list, we'll be looking at those Mortal Kombat characters who are the epitome of boring or awful. Who is your least favorite Mortal Kombat fighter? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Bo Rai Cho. Drunken boxing can make for a unique warrior, as shown by Jackie Chan in the Drunken Master films and Chun-Li in the Virtua Fighter games. Mortal Kombat's Bo Rai Cho pulls from the same martial arts world, but the character comes across as almost a parody. Introduced in Deadly Alliance and featured sporadically ever since, Bo Rai Cho's most famous move involves him puking on the floor. When that doesn't work, the martial artist can also unleash a potent fart. As a supposedly martial arts master, Bo Rai Cho leaves a lot to be desired. Number 9. Raicho. A stopgag character introduced in Mortal Kombat 4 as a replacement for Noob Saibot, Raicho has been, at best, an afterthought in the games. Armageddon revamped the character's look and set up Raicho as an outworlder generally interested in usurping Shao Kahn. But this plot thread ultimately didn't lead anywhere worthwhile. Despite being pretty interesting in the Mortal Kombat X comics, Raicho has been largely ignored by the games of the current timeline, dooming the general to a legacy of being a bit-part player in some of the less celebrated entries in the series. Number 8. Kintaro. Introduced in the second game to fill its Goru-shaped hole, Kintaro was always destined to exist in the shadow of his predecessor. As a Shokan who belongs to a lower-class clan, Kintaro has the basis for a potentially fascinating character. Unfortunately, Mortal Kombat has yet to do anything of note with this idea. Although Kintaro's design is rather neat, the Shokan is the definition of a forgettable boss who primarily exists to kill time before the real baddies show up. Kintaro serves his purpose without leaving much of a lasting impression.
Well done. Kintaro wins.
Number 7. Tanya. During the late 90s and early 2000s, Mortal Kombat was throwing out new characters like they were going out of fashion, with many getting lost in the shuffle. Tanya has proven to have more staying power than most, but the Adinian has largely been relegated to the role of henchwoman with a fondness for stabbing people in the back. Despite being a playable character in 3 games over the span of a decade, Tanya was a nothing character who seemed to exist just to give characters like Jade and Katana a rival. To her credit, Tanya has improved a bit in NetherRealm's recent games.
You're gonna fight me wearing that?
Shame to disarrange that lovely face.
Number 6. Blaze. This walking torch has had quite a career. First, Blaze showed up as a background character in Mortal Kombat 2, but he would not make his playable debut until Deadly Alliance. After that, Blaze somehow became the final boss of Mortal Kombat's 3D era and one of this universe's strongest characters, a claim he could not quite live up to as an opponent. One of the worst final enemies in the main games, Blaze has the personality of a block of wood and feels like a plot device rather than a fully fleshed out character. Number 5. Cobra. As a Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter crossover will probably never happen, Cobra can be seen as something of a middle ground. Blonde and obsessed with fighting, Cobra's look is inescapably similar to Street Fighter's Ken, but that is far from the biggest problem. Cobra brings nothing worthwhile to the games, with a serviceable backstory being undermined by the character's non-existent personality and bland presentation. Cobra might have fared better if he debuted during a time when Mortal Kombat was a bit more selective with its roster, but the martial artist represents a creative low for the series.
Cobra chose Kira to rule at his side, and the Elder Gods transformed her into a goddess of death.
Number 4. Jarek. Among the various derivative new characters introduced in Mortal Kombat 4, none were quite so blatantly unoriginal as Jarek. Not only was he Kanu's underling in the Black Dragon clan, but Jarek also used most of the same moves as the villain. While Armageddon would rectify this, the damage had already been done, as Jarek would become the poster boy of uninspired fighters who only exist to fill an arbitrary new character quota. Jarek does have a memorable ending in Mortal Kombat 4, although it doesn't exactly paint the Black Dragon in the best of lights.
Come in, Major Briggs. This is Lieutenant Sonya Blade. What?
Sonya, this is Major Briggs. Come in. Sonya, this is Jax. Are you there?
Number 3. Moloch. Midway introduced 2 Oni characters in Deadly Alliance. While Draman at least has a somewhat different look, Moloch just comes across as the bog-standard brawny demon who would be a throwaway enemy in something like Warcraft. Moloch was fine as a sub-boss, but the game seemed mostly uninterested in elevating the character to a role more substantial than hired muscle. With an uninspired design, a bland backstory, and mediocre gameplay, Moloch desperately needed something to help him stand out from the crowd. Unfortunately, the Oni never really found his one defining feature.
Scorpion wins.
Number 2. Hsu Hao.
Fight.
The butt of many jokes, Hsu Hao strives for mediocrity and still manages to fall short. Hated by his creators, Hsu Hao has one of the worst designs in Mortal Kombat history, and the Red Dragon member cannot even claim to be a fascinating type of bad. Although meant to be a rather strong character in universe, Hsu Hao rarely comes across as competent, something reflected by his dull and unoriginal moveset. This is a character who seems to exist just because Jax needed someone to hate during Deadly Alliance, and Hsu Hao was even awful as a throwaway villain.
Hsu Hao wins.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few dishonorable mentions. Taven, because lore is no replacement for a cool design or personality. Meat, because this experiment should have remained in Shang Tsung's flesh pits. Chameleon, because Mortal Kombat has yet to do anything remotely interesting with this ninja.
Chameleon wins.
Dairu, because this warrior came and went and barely anybody noticed.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Mocap. The ultimate meta character, Mocap, is the living embodiment of Mortal Kombat's behind-the-scenes process and a tribute to the actor Carlos Pacina. Introduced as a secret character in Deadly Alliance, Mocap shows up covered in balls and with barely any unique moves. There is a time and place for comedy characters, but Mocap came across as another half-hearted attempt at a new fighter in a game that already had too many. As a joke, Mocap is not particularly funny. As a legitimate fighter, Mocap is shallow and underdeveloped. Combine those two, and the result is a character that has no reason to exist.
His name is taught in Edenian astronomy to this day. He is the constellation Mocap.
In the mood for more awesome gaming content? Be sure to check out this video here on Mojo Plays. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.